this losing streak with a win today against the Thames.
And you see the team standings right there and what this means moving forward. A lot to play for still as we are almost done, just like that, with round 1 of UAAP season 81. All right, let's focus our attention first on National University. You mentioned the 3-game losing streak, the last of which was against our league leader, Adamson University.
Right.
They were down big in the first part of that, came back a little bit, but really Adamson had control, firm control and grip of that game.
But even though they lost that game and they were down early in the ball game,
14 yata, umabot.
Yeah,
14.
I thought they played well, especially
Okay.
if you compared that game compared to the game before, obviously against Ateneo, when Ateneo led as much as 27. But let's not forget, this is a defensive-minded team. Coach Jamike has always had that imprint ever since he was in his juniors days. As you see, you know, this is the lowest output by Adamson, 63. They had 26 in the first half.
Correct.
The problem for NU this season so far has been their offense. I mean, think about it, Boom. Their leading scorer is a rookie in Sean Ildefonso. The next leading scorer is Ozon. That's close to 9 points. The rest has to find a way to contribute. And if you watch their games closely, they run their offense the right way. They play the right way. It's just a matter of knocking down shots because they are getting it done defensively.
Okay, sakyan ko yung sinasabi mo, Coach. Looking for more. This guy on your screens, now that everything is settled, it might have an impact on his game na wala na siyang ibang iisipin, Coach.
It should, because, you know, obviously coming from a Division I college in Wake Forest and having the height advantage in this league, anytime you're 6'5", anytime you're 6'5" above and you have a skill set like a Troy Riker, who can pretty much do a little bit of everything, can shoot the ball from outside, you can put the ball on the deck. I think it's just a matter of time before he comes to his own. The 11 rebounds, you know, with his height, you know, that's going to be average. You know,
or it should be at least.
Should be at least as his height and length suggested to be. But the scoring has to pick up because that's one thing this team has lacked, especially after the Bobby Ray era.
That's right. Where they went back to the Final Four on his shoulders. Talking about Ray. All right. Let's bring in Dip Dipianco into this conversation, Christian. You mentioned earlier, Christian, that they should be happier with the loss against Adamson as compared to Ateneo. Okay, now that we talked to Miguel Dipianco right here from the NU side. Dip, I want to know, is it true that masaya pa rin si Coach Jamike after that loss against Adamson? Is that true, and how can that be?
Yes, Boom, tama ka dyan. Dahil in fact, right after the game against Adamson, Coach Jamike said na yun ang pinaka na-enjoy niyang laro so far in the past 4 games because his players enjoyed playing defense despite the loss. Kaya naman na-limit ang Adamson to just 63 points. It's just that their shots weren't going in, which led to their loss. Now for this game, I want to talk about Enzo Ozon, who has consistently been contributing for the Bulldogs. A couple of games back, he was seen crying sa post-game against Ateneo because masyado daw siya nape-pressure and feeling niya hindi siya nakakatulong sa team. But Coach Jamike quickly reminded him that it's too early to be emotional at this point dahil maaga pa and that leadership has no age, which is why he's still expected to lead the team with his playmaking. And just like what Coach Jamike says every time, just play your game because I want to enjoy you guys. I want to enjoy seeing you guys play. Balik sa inyo, Boom and Christian.
And the bond and the connection between Enzo Ozon and Coach Jamike is deep. And bata talaga ni Coach Jamike yan si Enzo Ozon. All right, thank you very much, Dip. And that I know he was happy about that loss against Adamson, but I'm sure if this becomes a 4th straight loss, he's not going to be a happy camper.
That's for sure.
After today. Now, the other team that they're going to face today were not happy also after their last game. Coach Christian Wanson, explain to me how FEU has been an enigma. They come up with probably their sharpest, best game. No, not probably. You and I did the game against UP, FEU UP.
Right.
That was their best game, execution-wise, game plan-wise, focus-wise. And then they come up against UE, and it just disintegrated like that. That's why we use the word shellacking. Explain that to us, please, Coach. How can that happen?
You're being too nice, actually. Not happy is an understatement. You know, as a coach, you know, all you can ask for your players is to perform at the highest level. Obviously, they did not. And at the same time, you know, it happens in a team I would say at least once in a season.
Yes.
You know, it's just one of those games that after a game, you just gotta flush it down the toilet.
Some bright sides, or bright side, a bright side for FEU here. This guy on your screen. From 16 minutes last year, 22 minutes this year, from 6.3 last year, his average has doubled. He is in great shape, the best that we've seen since his high school days.
Right.
And he's playing very well for Coach Olsen Rosella.
It's amazing how, you know, when you have the confidence to play already, and that the coach is showing that to you. Obviously, you mentioned the minutes increasing.
Right.
But this guy, the first day that we saw him, even from preseason,
right.
he just had the bounce in his step this year. You would know that, you know, this year would be special for him. I think it's just a matter of for him to translate it slowly into that leadership role that really this FEU is looking for, especially with the departure of guys like
Ron Denison,
Arong,
right.
Yeah, because this FEU culture has had those leaders. It's just a matter of finding that guy for this season.
All
and
right.
he's the best candidate to me.
Okay, let's bring in Sydney Crespo here into this conversation. Sid, tinanong ka na si Christian, ano nangyari? Ikaw siguro pinakamagandang tanongin dyan, ano? Ano nangyari dun sa dulo ng laro, pagkatapos ng laro, during the locker room conversations? Please let us in.
Yan, kukwentuhan ko kayo, Boom, no?
Yeah.
Pero indeed, the little things accumulated and that resulted to an upset loss for the FU Tamaraws. At kung napansin nyo nga, the FU squad is starting the season with literally some ups and downs. But according to FU guard Hubert Cani, there are more stories to tell as to why they lost to UE and even suffered a 34-point deficit. So it was a bad case of some overconfidence and lack of focus that even some players such as Hubert, Jasper Parker, and Wendell Comboy admitted that it started in practice days before the UE game. And you know what? Come game time, the emotions were very high on the bench and even worse inside the dugout. I remember seeing Arvin Tolentino, who was very emotional. He was throwing water bottles on the bench, but he explains to me that he's not usually the type that, you know, shows emotion, but it was just out of his frustration and at the same time the gravity of the game. And he immediately went back to the dugout after that just to breathe a little bit. But you know what, Boom, in general, it was something that they definitely did not expect, and at the same time, it should be a wake-up call for them for the things that they need to work on beyond basketball.
And that is a good sign that they were very emotional after that game. Sid, real quick, what do we expect going against NU today? Real quick.
Straight from the UE loss, Coach O and his boys immediately went.
The transferee from Ateneo, two guys that really offensively this team heavily relies on. And for Ildefonso, obviously, the process will be there, especially for this season as a rookie. For Arvin Tolentino, he has to play better than that. And being an experienced guy in the league, has to be more efficient, especially with his shot selection. Let's see today if he'll able to perform at that level.
Of course, that is they're under the spotlight of the matchup. That doesn't mean meron tayong mga hindi ibang manlalarong titignan dito. Marami. We will see how Enzo Hoson will bounce back today. We'll be with Reggie Morido, Isa Gaye, Jonas Tibayan, and their #1 scorer, Dave Ildefonso. That is from the National University side, who are at 1 and 3 sa ating team standings. The FEU Tamaraws. Are there going to be changes today? Well, Wendell Coldboy, Jasper Parker, Prince Urizu has had a great season so far. Richard Escoto, Kenneth Papin will start for FEU.